This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Thanks everybody for downloading this week's edition of Doc and Jock. I am the Doc, John McEnroe. Joining me this week, as always, my guy, my cousin Adam, the Jock Strozinski. Here today to break down all things regarding the Detroit Lions, their schedule, looking at how the Lions can use a snub potentially this season to power their way through an interesting schedule that they have in 2022. And we got to talk about the Detroit Pistons. Lady Luck did not shine on the Pistons when it came to the lottery. And then we'll just finish briefly on the Tigers, who gave us one little brief weekend of hope, and then reality came crashing down against the Tampa Bay Rays. And of course, the baseball gods just had to sprinkle that little bit of extra salt when a former player comes back to bite you in the ass. And of course, you knew it was going to happen. Of course, a traded player was going to come back and bite the Tigers in the butt. So we'll talk about all that this week on the podcast. But we got to talk about it because the Lions schedule came out last week, and it's an annual tradition, and everybody looks at it, and everybody starts to do the win-loss game, and we'll do that briefly when we look at the schedule here for the Lions. But I think the biggest thing that everybody paid attention to was the big slap in the face in regards to the schedule makers not putting the Lions on primetime. Now, most fans could digest it, in my opinion. They said, okay, it's a 3-win football team that struggles, maybe not necessarily just ready with this group to be on Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, Monday night. But the part that rubbed it in the most, and I think the part that made everybody feel disrespected, was there's only one National Football League team that doesn't feature any, not included in any primetime games, and it's the Detroit Lions. When you see that, you're like, come on. But there still is the opportunity to get on a primetime game if they're flexed from weeks 5 to 15, if they get off to a start, if there's an interesting storyline that takes place. But man, it was hard to see the schedule, and you look at it and you go, Sunday at 1, Sunday at 1, Sunday at 1, Sunday at 1. No, Sunday at 1. My schedule is pretty clear, other than the beef.
Don't you love that?
Yeah.
That allows you to get home early, allows you to be done with everything. You got to be excited.
Yes.
You got to be pumped up about
For
this.
a media member, I'm pumped. Now, it stinks Christmas Eve. New Year's Day is going to be tough. I might have to make some business decisions here regarding my time and how I handle myself on New Year's Eve, knowing that there's a football game the next day. You know, typically, if you know, New Year's Day is a national holiday, and that day is usually just a sweatpants day where you're just like, oh, I probably shouldn't eat anything bad for me today. And but to get up and go to a football game, it's going to be crazy to see how it all shakes out. But I feel a little disrespected that the Lions, no primetime games, the only squad in the league not to be featured.
I mean, they did finish second worst in the NFL this season. And the team that finished worse, you mean to tell me they've got a primetime game?
Oh,
That's how this played out, hey? I mean, I look, I take no disrespect in it. You get what you deserve. This was a team that there were games last season that they probably should have and could have won. But this is also a team that repeatedly shot itself in the foot, okay? And you don't, I mean, I guess Aiden Hutchinson is the guy early on that you can kind of highlight. He's the guy that you can really shine a light on if you want to. You can kind of see what he's going to give you. But I think if you look at the Jacksonville getting a nod over the Detroit Lions for a primetime game, I think part of the reason is because they had that number 1 overall pick, and that was Trayvon Walker. And like whether you believe Trayvon Walker is going to be the second coming of an edge rusher, or he's going to be the second coming of an outside linebacker, whatever it may be, maybe he won't even be that. Maybe he'll just be a rock that just kind of sucks. Who knows? But you can highlight that he is the number 1 overall draft pick from this past season's NFL draft, and you can build around that for whatever game it is. And that could be the storyline for it. With the Detroit Lions, they don't really have that. This is the number 2 overall draft pick, Aiden Hutchinson. Fan favorite because he went to the University of Michigan. That doesn't work. That doesn't sell anything. And you look at what they've done in the offseason, right? Yeah, you and I think the signing of DJ Shark was great. We think it was smart. And it's more financial than it is anything else. It's more financial than what you're going to actually get on the field. We both think Amon-Ra St. Brown looks to be a really good player. Not sure he's going to be able to duplicate what he did last year. The hope is that he can. You've got an offensive coordinator who's basically cutting his teeth, and maybe Dan Campbell will still be calling plays. You had a nice little interaction with him over last weekend where you asked him if he's calling plays or not, and he gave you some BS answer to kind of blow you off. But I mean, it's one of those things where this team doesn't really have any juice. There's nothing really big going on, which is why I found it to be fascinating that they're going to get Hard Knocks, because there's not a whole lot here that you really want to see. I mean, I think Jamal Williams might be the most entertaining, charismatic guy on this football team, and he's already come out and said, F Hard Knocks. Like, I don't care about them. So I don't know what you're going to get here. There's no storyline going into this season. You know, if you want to talk Dan Campbell, remember last year Dan Campbell was the storyline. And you could have got some primetime games because you had a rookie head coach who had a really interesting interview when he was brought in front of the media for the very first time and announced as the head coach. You don't have that going into this year. There's nothing here. So I don't take it as a sign of disrespect. I just think this is where this team's at right now. And I think it's good. I really do think it's good. I think if Dan Campbell is as good of a head coach as Dan Campbell's supposed to be, if he's supposed to be this massive motivator, this guy to squeeze every ounce of talent out of these guys, this sets up perfect for him. He's got to be just thriving in this, just loving all of this, because it's just a little bit more ammo for his arsenal when he goes to get these guys motivated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and Hard Knocks obviously is going to be the Dan Campbell show. It's going to feature his talks, his personality, what the players think of Dan Campbell, what Dan Campbell eats. You
asking him questions and him blowing you off a little bit.
You know, some of the producers are going to take Dan Campbell to Starbucks, and he's going to down some coffee. It's gonna be entertainment. It's going to be Jamal Williams.
Know what? That is exactly. I can see the very first episode setting up just like this.
Yeah,
they basically it's a shot of Dan Campbell's car pulling into the local Starbucks near Allen Park. And Dan Campbell basically getting out of his truck. So I'm assuming he's a truck guy.
Yes,
gets out of his truck, walks into Starbucks, and is like,
bam,
give me 2, what is it? It's Venti or whatever the larger one, Grande. What's the big one at
Venti.
Starbucks? I hate the way Starbucks has their
it's Venti,
coffees
I believe,
labeled, but whatever. He gets the 2 biggest coffees he can get with like 6 espresso shots in both of them. It'll be great.
Boom, boom, and he handles his business. Yeah, exactly. So that's what they want to see, and so it'll be interesting to see how Hard Knocks is put together in regards to who they feature and all that good stuff. It'll be a good time, but yeah, in terms of football games, not primetime material just yet. And the NFL schedule maker said it wasn't a slight. It's just you have to win your way on there. And remember, when Stafford had a good season, then they started to pick up and added draft picks. Then they got back on primetime, and they had a lot of them. So if they just get to, when you look at the schedule, 5th easiest across the league based on last year's win-loss total.
Before we get into the schedule, I want to ask you this. Do you think Hard Knocks, because we're here now, we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Do you think Hard Knocks does a bit where Dan Campbell does use this as a motivating tool, does use this in a speech, does use this to get this team riled up? And it's just like it's one of like the first 2-3 episodes that we get of Dan Campbell.
It'd be something good, yeah.
Getting these guys.
That would be something when you look at speeches in training camp. It's going to be about culture. It's going to be maybe hopefully one rah-rah speech about Detroit versus everybody, not being on prime time, what the goals are, coming so close last year but still fighting, still scratching and clawing. there's going to be a lot of Dan Campbell speeches, a lot of Dan Campbell talks with these players. So absolutely, they should. If it's well produced and things like that, then obviously the talk is going to be about some disrespect that's felt. But I think at the same time, a lot of I think what will be shown as well is ESPN blowing up the Lions, PFF A+ grade or A- grade in the total offseason, the culture change, all that kind of talk, how much fun everybody's having. That's going to be the message, just really oversold. Fun, culture, this is the place to play, up and coming. So they're going to sell the narratives there, and but for me, that doesn't do nothing. I don't want to see it on the field. I want to see week 1 because it can go either way. The Eagles sets the tone. It's a perfect matchup, literally, outside of a cupcake like the Jaguars, where you feel like you're going to win. The Eagles is a nice contest to see where you're at because they kicked your ass last year, 44-6, and they did it via the ground. And that instantly should be something they try to do again with their running backs, is to test this defensive line and see what they can get away with. So I want to see, because you could go either way and say this team starts 1-1, 2-0, 0-2. You could legitimately make an argument for any kind of start for this Detroit Lions team. I'm hoping that they can get out to at least a 1-1 start. I believe I have it as a win-win in my schedule. I have a win. I have 2 wins. Starting the year at home with some huge momentum. If they stay healthy, I got them starting off the year 2-0. Overall, I have a basic schedule, a lot of early wins, but a lot of opportunities there when they face the better teams. I have the overall schedule for me having them finishing 8-9. Not too crazy.
Really?
8 wins. Yeah. 8.
Can you walk me through your 8 wins?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm behind you, but I'm not massively behind you. But I just think 8 wins for this team is absolutely bonkers. I think you are sipping the Kool-Aid, and I think you are drinking all of the juice, and you're loving the cornbread as well.
Yeah, it is. It's a quick schedule release. It is. I have them starting off 2-0, and it was something that I looked at and I said, I understand where people will say, well, wait a minute. But remember, too, it is predicated on health. It is predicated on the fact that, obviously if they do suffer an injury to anybody on the offensive line, then it's going to be a significantly bad day. So let's look at it like that, and then we'll go from there. But let me see here. I'm going to pull it up. We had the rumor tracker.
So this is where I'm at with it, right? Because, like I said, I'm not too far behind you, but I am far behind you. I've got them at 6 wins, and look, I got them.
That's fair.
I've got them starting and going into the bye week at 3-2. I think their season starts off quite easy. I think Philly's a win. I think Washington's a win. I think Minnesota, you got to go on the road. I think that's a loss. I think Seattle's a win, because unless Seattle does something to get a real quarterback over there, I don't believe in the Drew Lock experience, and I don't think it's going to work out. I think you go to New England, I think that's a loss. So I think you head into the bye week with some hurt feelings and being upset. And I think you come out of the bye week with a loss when you got to travel to Dallas.
Yeah, I say my path to the bye is a win-win. Starting the year against the Eagles and the Commanders with a win, loss at the Vikings, come back home, win a close one, 17-10 against the Seahawks, and losing to the Patriots. So at the bye week, they're 3-2.
Okay, so same. We're in lockstep there. And then I've got them losing to Dallas.
Yep.
I've got them losing to Miami.
I got to win there. That's a close one. Tua. That's the key. That's the key. If they can if that can be a revenge game, if that can be a game where you expose Tua a little bit, might be the Lions' defensive coming out party, where maybe that might be Tua's last game in Miami.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. That'll be really, really interesting.
Yep.
I've got them losing I got them losing to Miami. You've got them winning. I've got them losing to Green Bay.
Yep, losing to Green Bay, 4-4.
I've got them going on the road and losing to Chicago.
I say I got a 1-point win. I got them winning, so that's how I get to 5-4. And I got to win at the Giants to get to 6-4.
I've got to win at the Giants.
Yep, and then
Buffalo, they get trashed. Just thrashed.
That's where they get to 6-5. And
then I've got Jacksonville.
Win at home versus Jacksonville gets me to 7-5. Realistically, 2 losses to the Vikings this year, so that puts them at 7-6.
Now this is where it gets interesting for me, because I think these next 2 games, I think the game December 18th and the game on Christmas Eve
Yep.
Versus the Jets and Carolina. I think they win one of those games.
I got them both being losses. Yeah, I got them being losses. I got a losing streak hitting here. I got lost to the Vikings, lost at the Jets in the Robert Saleh Campbell Bowl, loss at loss at the Panthers to take them to 7-8. And their 8th win and final win comes at the Bears. So they have success against the teams that they should have success against. You could see it. It's just a couple games that we differ on. It's the Dolphins and the Seahawks and things like that. So it could go either way in regards to the schedule. I mean, of course, I could see 6 wins. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I am right. That was my instant reaction when you do it. That's how they're supposed to do it, is that you look at it and you go, boom, what is it? Obviously predicated on starting off the year with a win. Right away, if they lose to the Eagles, my schedule is shot. So I think that there's a strong chance it could fall right in the middle. If you just flip flop a couple of those games, maybe you don't get off to the win against the Eagles to start the year.
You know what's messed up?
But I would say, hold your thought. I would say this, that there's probably a greater than 60 to 70% chance that the win total falls between 6, 7, and 8. It's one of those three numbers.
Well, yeah.
I feel like it's going to be one of those between 6 and 8.
So here's the thing. I feel like this next season is going to be very similar to the season we just had. And I think the thing that's going to be a little bit different is a lot of those close games that they lost by field goals and they lost by 1, 2, or 3 points. I think a few of those games will be wins. And I think that'll be the difference between where this team is drafting at number 2 and this team is drafting 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9, depending on how the NFL season unfolds. But I think it's going to be, I don't know if you've added enough talent to this roster to really make it incredibly different than last year. And yeah, when we get done looking at it, we'll be like, yeah, 6, 7, 8 wins is a lot more than 3 wins. But you go back and you really watch those games, you watch how those games unfolded. Is it really that different? And I don't think it's going to be that different. I think what ends up happening is they end up winning a couple of those really close games that they maybe should have won last year that they just barely lost. And I think that's kind of how the season's going to unfold. I think there'll be points in this season that's going to be incredibly frustrating for this fan base. I think it's going to be down the stretch of the season as this team gets into week 10, 11, 12, 13, all the way to week 17 and 18. I think that's where, like you said, you have a bit of a losing streak there. I think that's where that losing streak kicks into high gear, and I think it makes it really tough on this fan base, and they really start to question Dan Campbell and what the hell's going on with this team. And I just want everybody to remember, this team needs to be bad one more year.
Yeah.
They need to be bad one more year. That you need to be able to get one of these quarterbacks at the top of this draft that's coming up. So whether you're winning 3 games, 4 games, 5 games, 8 games, 9 games, you want this team to be bad because you don't want to ink Jared Goff to another contract extension, because I don't know about you, but I don't believe in him. You do want to go get that young talent, bring him in. You've got a very young core. That's the one thing that Brad Holmes has done an extremely good job of. He has a very young core, and it looks like there is a lot of talent, a lot of good young talent on this team. Amon-Ra St. Brown looks like good young talent. Aiden Hutchinson looks like he could be really good. Jameis Williams looks like he could be really good as long as he comes back healthy from that knee injury. You've got a couple of other young guys, a couple of other young pieces on this team. And remember, your offensive line is already built. And I think that's the one thing that you need as a young quarterback. You need an offensive line that you can depend on. You also need a running game that you can count on, and you can operate with short passes out of that run game, which they have with DeAndre Swift. And if you have a tight end who is capable and competent, I think it makes things that much better. I'm not willing to say that about TJ Hawkinson right now because I'm not sure what I've got with TJ Hawkinson because it's been very bipolar with him.
I want to throw this into the mix, and it may happen, it may not. I like what you're saying in regards to getting a quarterback, maybe being a team that's still in that 4 or 5 win range to potentially get a CJ Stroud or a Bryce Young. But part of me says that is such a huge risk to take a team that is built and then to throw it into the hands of a rookie, because even Josh Allen, even the likes of Patrick Mahomes, still.
But you can do it. You can do it. You just limit the playbook.
You can do it.
Give them. You're not like, hey, here's 180 pages. Go read this and digest it. No. You initially give them 50, 60 pages of the playbook, and you're like, here, read this, learn this, understand this. By the time week 5 rolls around, you start adding new wrinkles.
Yeah.
And it's really you just have to limit what they're doing to limit those mistakes. That's why I said having a run game with the short passes, it really helps.
It does. But I would say this, maybe even consider, maybe not this specific player, but maybe the pathway if Jared Goff is not the guy, which we all assume to be the case. Look, until Jared Goff shows that he can throw a deep ball, and Jameson Williams will expose that because he'll fly so far past how far Goff can throw the football. It'll be exposed pretty much in the first game they play together. So I think that the more plausible idea is you start researching a lot of the number 2s and 3s that are sitting on rosters that have been sitting back and playing and maybe not playing, that you can get. Now, maybe it's a Derek Carr, maybe it's the likes of a Taylor Heineke. Now, not maybe those specific players, but players that have experience.
You heard it here first. Baker Mayfield will be a Detroit Lion. John Macaroon says so.
Just maybe in that realm, but somebody that maybe could command a little bit more respect of the locker room. Somebody that can win a playoff game that's been sitting, we got to find that person, and we got to find the number 2s. Now, I threw out there maybe Jordan Love, but I think that everybody hates that idea because they saw him against the Lions and he sucked. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Somebody that's been sitting behind a talented individual. Now, if it can work out, maybe if the early struggles of Trey Lance can get him booed out of the arena, then potentially you go and get him. And
I mean, Jimmy G's still available. It's really weird because there's still some really good quarterbacks that are out there.
Exactly.
Right? I mean,
So
I don't know if Jimmy G's a really good quarterback, but I would say I think he's better than Jared Goff. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is better than Jared Goff if you give him a limited playbook. I think Baker Mayfield is a better quarterback than Jared Goff.
Yes.
I just think it's personality issues with him. There are guys out there. There are still some really good quarterbacks out there that teams are looking to move on from, which is absolutely bonkers to me. Like, it's been such a crazy offseason. I've never seen so many players move around like this, especially high-fluent players like quarterbacks. It's nuts.
It's nuts. So until they draft a quarterback that we say is next, hold that thought out there. That's our job. Is just throw a little bit of extra into the formula, into the pot here, and see what happens. But I'm excited because when it came out, being at rookie minicamp, got our first sight of Aiden Hutchinson. Quick review of minicamp. It was a fun experience.
How do you look? You look good stretching?
Yes, he looked good stretching.
Got that good
he did his thing. And hey, number 1 goal, everybody stayed healthy. So one day at a time. That's the only goal I think a lot of supporters that listen really want for the Lions right now is everybody stay healthy throughout these workouts, throughout the mini camp that's going to take place, and let's get after it. So far, so good. And I can report Jameson Williams will be wearing a perma-smile for his entire tenure with the Detroit Lions. You will not catch him not smiling and not using the word happy, thrilled, excited. He got his check. It looks like the deposit cleared. And the man is now very, very happy. Now, the funny part about all that is, we always joke around when narratives when narratives are trying to be sold, and it's like, this one's going a little bit now on 2 years. Culture, happiness, greatness. The Lions locker room is so great. Everyone's happy and everyone's great. And then da-da-da-da. Okay, let's see how that goes this year if you're in the midst of a 4-game losing streak. Let's just see, because you can only sell everybody's happy for so long. You know what I mean? You got to get out there and start the process of getting some victories out there on the football field, because this happy-go-lucky Camp Allen Park situation is cute and will be highlighted and stamped by Hard Knocks, but you got to win football games, period. And it has to start with hopefully at least one victory, either over the Eagles or over the Commanders. So we'll see how it goes. Stay tuned to SIL Lions and the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. We'll cover it. Minicamp's coming up, and one round of OTAs. We'll have a couple more opportunities to get out there before the 6 weeks of hiatus, where we can all sit back, relax, and enjoy the real off season before training camp starts. Because, look, in regards to the Pistons, I had no expectation that they were going to win the draft lottery again. I just wanted them to stay where they earned. They were a bottom 3 team. I was just hoping they'd stay at 3rd, but look,
I would have been happy if they would have been able to procure the 4th pick.
Right, exactly.
Just draft in the top 4 is what I was looking for.
Exactly. That was my mindset going into it, was 3 or 4, we'll be okay. When it came out 5, it was like, oh, no. That puts you in the realm of some questionable talent that you could get, and you're like, I thought it was kind of gross that it fell that way. And it kind of put a damper on a season where you tanked and did everything you're supposed to do to not only lose out on the number 1 pick, you slid 2 places. That sucks. But, well, it's good because you're not going to get Chet Holmgren. I'm curious, though, okay? This is the part you got to really think. Will potentially the Pistons make a call to an old friend and make a call to OKC for one of the big dogs?
See, this was my thought, right? And I totally, last night I was pretty upset about this. And I forgot that I basically forgot that they still have a monster trade chip on this team. And I could see this team. I could see, because does Troy Weaver not like to move around in the NBA draft? Have we not seen this man basically move up, climb up from the 2nd round, jump back into the 1st round to go grab guys, move all around in the later paths of the 1st round? Remember, you've got a piece in Jeremy Grant that you could use to trade. I could see Jeremy Grant and I could see the number 5 overall draft pick being packaged together, and you possibly moving up to number 2 with Oklahoma City, maybe moving up to number 3 with Houston, maybe moving up to number 4 with Sacramento.
Yes.
Because it does a couple of things. You get to move that salary off your books, and you get to move up in the draft.
Exactly. Now, the one name I don't want, okay? Because we watch
who's the one guy you don't want?
There's one guy I don't want. If they say the Pistons with the 5th pick take Iowa, Keegan Murray, power forward, I'm going to fall over. I'm going to fall over because I don't see that guy coming in and complimenting anything.
Anybody.
I don't see what he could do with this Pistons roster other than he already looks like a Piston. He already plays like a Piston. Don't draft Pistons. Go up there, and I could stomach Jaden Ivey. I could stomach that. It looks like you're not going to get Chet Holmgren, Paolo Banchero, Jabari Smith. I could stomach the likes of Shaden Sharp from Kentucky. I can handle that. But it's time. It's time for Troy Weaver to call his boys and be like, give me the number 2 pick. We need the number 2 pick, and go up there and give up whatever you need to give up and land Jabari Smith. Make the calls. Give up the draft picks if it's this year's first and next year's and a year after. Do what you got to do, because Jabari Smith playing with Cade Cunningham, I would actually probably consider buying tickets. That puts asses in seats. You got to do it. It sucks that you got put in that position, but you can't be safe. You definitely cannot be safe and go crazy and take a Keegan Murray out of Iowa in the Big Ten. Look, he had himself a nice Big Ten tournament run. Great. But don't get crazy and try and reach for a guy that probably is not going to get all that much terribly better. All right? So, in my mind, do not take Keegan. Go up there, make the trade, and I'll be happy. But by and large, when you look at it, the Pistons won. The Pistons won the draft lottery last year. You got Cade Cunningham. I think within the realm of what they could do this year, I think it's going to be okay. I still have, look, even though Killian Hayes is questionable, even though you missed out on potentially a talent, I think last year showed that he's got some moxie in regards to putting together a roster. Maybe that Killian is an early jitter, but moving forward, you better figure out what to do with this 5th pick, and it better be the right call. It's a huge pick, maybe even one of the most important draft picks in Pistons history.
Well, here's the thing, too. I think this team extremely weak with perimeter shooting. It's the one place that they really need to to be able to add an impactful player. And I think there are guys in this draft that you can grab that can help out. But I think you're right. You've got to be able to nail this pick. You have Troy Weaver come out after they're slotted at 5, and he basically says, look, there are 7 guys that we're really keen on. I don't know if I believe that, because a couple of months ago, maybe 2 or 3, this was the same guy who was like, look, there are 4 guys that we're really watching. So now all of a sudden it's ballooned to 7. Like what the hell has changed that you have seen when nobody's playing any college basketball? You know, the combine's just starting. So what have you seen where now it goes from 4 to 7? So I'm not buying any of that. I think you're right. What we end up getting is you see a team move up in this draft and go and get the guy that they target and the guy that they want. And you know what? I think if they do that, it shows some balls. And I think if they can get the guy that they are actually targeting, I think this team is off and running. I'm not saying that they're going to be in the playoffs next year, but I think you can finally say, look, the rebuild is over. Now we're actually moving towards focusing on getting into the playoffs, winning playoff games, and it's just adding a few pieces here and there, adding a big-name free agent, and just letting the guys go, letting the kids play, and watching a lot of fun basketball. But I'm in lockstep with you, man. You know, focus on who you want and go get that person. If that person is Jabari Smith, go grab him. If you feel like that is the best player in this draft and he's going to be the guy who's going to help this team, go get him.
Yeah.
You've got resources. A top 5 pick, that's pretty nice. You can add in a guy like Jeremy Grant, who himself, you realize Jeremy Grant's 23? I like how we talk about Jeremy Grant like he's the old guy on the roster. It's because he is the old guy on the roster at 23. Like, that's crazy. That's how young this team is. But you can pair him with that top 5 overall pick and go get your guy. And I think it's awesome. And I think that if Troy Weaver can somehow manufacture something better from what this team was basically slotted with the other night, I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic for this team.
Now, it's funny. Look, got to correct you. He is a fellow Pisces, and I know his birthday because his birthday is one day after mine. He is 28. He's still young.
I thought he was 23.
Nope. Born March 12th, 1994.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, he's the old guy.
He is the old guy, but still 28.
In NBA
still
terms, he's old.
A valuable piece that could be definitely included in in a trade, of course. So I think coming on the heels of the Red Wings slipping and earning a horrible position, and then the Pistons, same thing. It leaves a bad taste in a lot of fans' mouth. But if Troy Weaver can make some things happen, and he could put together an offer and do things. Now, here's the funny thing too. I don't know, cuz if you saw, but there was a video that was released of the Phoenix Suns doing whatever that was that I saw on video. I don't know if that was dancing, if that was them getting on shrooms and saying, let's just put out a TikTok video, but it featured DeAndre Ayton, and he was doing something with his body that resembled dancing, but I don't know what that was, but I don't want that coming here. So the big offseason move is not to bring a DeAndre Ayton here to Detroit. Absolutely not.
I was going to ask you, like, how do you feel about that? Because there's a lot of talk because he's basically done in Phoenix.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's a good player.
No.
That's not a dude that you want. It's not a guy that you try to build around.
No. Absolutely not. And you're going to pay Andre Drummond 2.0, $30 million a year? Are you kidding me?
There you go. No, that's exactly right. I like how you put that. Andre Drummond 2.0. You remember what it was like having the dinosaur in Andre Drummond?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
The guy was from Jurassic Park. He played a position that was as old as that T-Rex or that what was it, a mosquito in Jurassic Park that was found in the tree sap. He was as old as that. And that's what his position that he played was, because you can't have a center who can't move out and can't have a mid-range game and can't threaten from three-point land. You just can't have that anymore. You need guys to be a little bit more athletic, be a little bit more physical. You can have a 7-footer, but they've got to be able to do other things than just be tall. and that's what Andre Drummond was, and I feel like that's what DeAndre Ayton is.
Yeah, I don't want to sound prejudiced, but over the weekend, the NHL kicked the NBA's ass in regards to drama, mystique, and
Dude, the NHL playoffs supersede just about any other playoff.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Absolutely. And what was terrible was, how do the Suns get their ass kicked by that much? Good Lord. Where's the competitive juices? I mean, look, and it's funny, too, because it ties into a lot of what this new age culture is where everything's wonderful. It's like, everything's awesome all the time. We lost game 6. Are you worried? No, I'm not worried. Are you concerned? No, I'm not concerned. Tigers lose a series. You guys concerned? No, I'm not concerned. I just got to worry about the next game. Lions, you guys have never won in the history of Everdom. Are you guys concerned about, fans? No, we're not concerned. Everything's wonderful. It's awesome. And this is where we're going in the world where everything's awesome publicly. Everything's awesome. Just say it's awesome. AJ, your starting pitcher only lasted 23 innings. Are you guys worried? No, everything's awesome. It's going to be great. We're going to get back at it, and we're going to play the Guardians, and we're going to handle our business. Awesome. It's really awesome. And that's how this world is coming to. And when I saw the NBA, I was like, what is going on? And the NHL was awesome. It was nice to see some of the finals things going on. When Toronto loses, it's all good in the National Hockey League. But for the Pistons, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where they put their money, where some of the funds come in regards to adding to this roster and via the draft. Because, quick nugget on the Tigers, they did, have the opportunity to sweep the Baltimore Orioles, but it was embarrassing in regards to the attendance. The fans have said, they've spoken, they don't like it, they've checked out. A little bit more attendance on Friday and Saturday, but abysmal on Sunday. And then you ride the wave of a sweep of the Orioles and you win the first game against the Tampa Bay Rays, but then you get your ass kicked by a combined score of 14-2 in the last 2 games. And now you have Eduardo Rodriguez strained something on his left side, and he's going to be gone for a period of time. Almost every one of your starting pitchers has been hurt. And it's just still continuing where the offense just can't get it together consistently enough. You can beat the Orioles, great. They were playing better baseball. You showed a little bit of signs of life, but this is where the problem lies when you start your season that many games under 500. It would take you, and you would have to play, basically, to get out of this rut, you'd have to go 35-20. Over the next 55 games just to get back to a semblance of an opportunity. You know how hard that is? That is basically winning every series. Every series has to result in a 2-1 situation in order for you to get back. You can't lose series. And you're playing the likes of those in your division. You're playing the likes of those with more talent than you. When you put yourself in that kind of hole, and it just really makes it tough and sad because we are nearing that point. And you don't like to see that, but baseball is about to be irrelevant in about 2 weeks. And it's sad.
It is so depressing because we're not even through May yet. And this team has already basically gone to the dumpster. Yeah. And you're right. Like, the only way for this team to become relevant again is to basically play, 600-700 baseball. And, they're at this point, they've shown no signs of life. Like, they've shown you absolutely nothing. So it's really unfortunate, and I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how you fix this because you can't keep sucking forever. You know what I'm saying? Like, at some point, the young prospects have to come up and play, and they've got to be able to give you something, and just haven't seen it. Maybe if and when Casey Mize returns, all of a sudden things kind of get shaped up, that the pitching rotation kind of settles back in, but I don't know. I don't necessarily believe that.
Yeah, it is so wild to think that the season started with a little bit more expectation to get into the win range around 84 to 88. Look, guys, we weren't even blowing them up to be like contenders. We just said win as many games as you lose after 7 years, and that's really embarrassing for us to kind of settle, here at the podcast, just to be like, yeah, they're going to win 84 games. That's progress.
Dude, I'm telling you, at some point, Chris Ilitch has to grow a set of balls.
Yeah.
And he's got to fire the puppet master in Al Avila. Al Avila sucks at his job.
Yeah. It's really bad. And when you look at it, there's not even you can't even look to Toledo for any semblance of help. What are you going to do? Call back up Akil Baddoo? What are you going to do? You know, you can't count on one single player from Toledo to come in and say resurrect this team. Riley Green is not going to come up here and just automatically hit and handle business. So here's the tough part is that help is not really around the corner. That's the part that is crazy, is that finally you have what seems to be the semblance of a decent pitching staff, but now you can't hit the baseball. When for so many years we'd have to grip in regards to all the closers that they try to throw out there and the bullpen that just couldn't get it done consistently enough. And now you've built a pitching staff and the collective baseball team goes into the tank. I mean, we had to suffer the indignity of Isaac Paredes dropping not one, but 2 home run bombs on Wednesday against the Tigers. I mean, that is some weird-ass Detroit sports karma where Austin Meadows is dizzy and dealing with something, and he has no home runs, and the Tigers went apeshit to go get him with the hopes that he could resurrect what he once was, and the Rays are like, it's like Paredes, throw him in there, and the Tigers are like, sure, and right away now he's got 2 home runs to Austin Meadows, who's got 0. So to see that, no, it's like Paredes is not lighting it up, only against the Tigers, but you know that people are going to start looking at it and saying, oh my God, is this another Eugenio Suarez situation? Is this another situation where a player leaves and handles business elsewhere? Nick Castellanos, ring a bell, JD Martinez. So, and they constantly have to revisit what Al Avila did not do has been depressing. Seeing, it's true now, it's facts. More people are attending DCFC than are the Tigers games. It's a fact. They're getting 7,000 to 8,000, whereas they may be getting 5 at Comerica Park. And those 1 o'clock games are killing Comerica Park because nobody's taking time off of work to go see a baseball team that is utterly disastrous. And so that's where it is. This rebuild is not over. So maybe Chris Ilitch got into the everyone's excited culture and couldn't get into the reality lens of what's going on. And I think that's maybe one of the biggest problems in Detroit sports is that maybe you can fool 40% of the people into believing that everything's great by just saying it. But, you know, that's why I put on Twitter at Detroit Podcast, and I can leave it with this, and it's perfect. Corey Graves referencing something that we'll talk about on the Doc and Jock wrestling podcast this weekend, but it belies what is going on in the new PC social media PR world. And Corey Graves, courtesy of Bill Moyers, with a great quote, and it says, "We seem to prefer a comfortable lie to the uncomfortable truth. We punish those who point out reality and reward those who provide us with the comfort of illusion. Reality is fearsome, but experience tells us that more fearsome yet is evading it." And that's what is emanating as the dark cloud over Detroit sports. Culture, fun, exciting. Okay, look, you can fool some of the kids that are trying to get on social media and scream and yell after a win. But you have wise people with degrees, wise people working in esteemed industries that understand that if you don't put a winning product out on the field, we don't care how much fun you're having after a series sweep over the Orioles. Come on. It's something now to say this rebuild for the Tigers, this rebuild for the Red Wings has to start taking a turn to show some signs of life, flicker of hope. And they're not doing it just enough. So we'll keep being those that point out reality. We've done well with it. And I think you guys respect us for doing it. Now, of course, there's going to be some fanboy stuff going on and things like that. We are fans of the teams. We want them to win. But at the same time, the blessing of what we've been able to do is we also say, hey, I'm concerned. I'm nervous. I'm not happy. I'm not excited. I don't care about the word culture. I don't care how happy the guys are in the locker room. I don't care at all. Can you make the tackle in the open field? Can you kick the field goal or prevent the kicker from kicking a 66-yard field goal? Can you do that? Then I'll be happy. So that's where we're at with this rebuild, and you're about to check out from these Tigers, aren't you? You're pretty much checked out. You check in for the podcast, but it's like box score, chuckle, laugh at the one run they score every game.
That's pretty much it. So like, I'll listen on the radio while I'm at work.
Yeah,
but like it doesn't. They're not good enough, and they're not captivating enough to capture my attention at home. There are other things that I'd much rather watch on television than watch them go out there and lose, or them soil the bed and then roll around in it. There's 1,001 other things I much rather do than waste my time on these Tigers. And it sucks, man. It's horrible because I really wanted them to be good, and I really wanted to invest in them this year. And we're what, a quarter of the way through the season, a third of the way through the season, and it's just been an absolute dumpster fire. It's been absolutely horrible.
It's bad. It's bad, but we'll see what the ramifications will be. We'll see if everybody comes back healthy, what that means for this Detroit Tigers team. Besieged by injury, besieged by bad luck, not good hitting, terrible offense, Javi Baez swinging at pitches that are over his head. What are you going to do? That is the state of the Detroit Tigers. But Miguel Cabrera got his accomplishment, so you got your one gate. Maybe that was your intended goal, was at least one gate, two if you count opening day as well. Make sure you stay tuned to Detroit Sports Podcast as we keep it real regarding the state of all Detroit sports. Make sure if you agreed or disagreed, if you think we're being way too cynical, if you like Iowa basketball and you think that we're being haters, message us at Detroit Podcast. Reach out. If you think we're totally out of line, out of order, let us know. We love reading all the good news, bad news, all the debate. We definitely check it out at Detroit Podcast. Anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast, anywhere that you find podcasts, just type in 3 words, Detroit Sports Podcast, and our fine audio content will find you. Cuz, great broadcast. Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ, and make sure you check in with the network at Detroit Podcast as we move forward with the Tigers, Wings, Pistons, and Lions moving forward in Rebuild City. I can't wait to talk to you again next week, cuz as we hit Memorial Day, as we hit some fun times, and we get an opportunity to check out how the Lions are doing in the offseason. Thanks, cuz. Let's talk next week on the latest edition of Doc and Jock.